All right, hello everyone, and welcome to another tier list for Tier List Tuesday. And today we have a big one. It's going to be the top 10 units in the game. We mentioned last week we thought this one was going to be pretty contentious.
Yeah, this one's got some good units on there.
There's a lot of good stuff in here. There's a few notable qualifiers that'll be on it. No characters, vehicles, or monsters. They're going to get their own separate video. I think characters are going to get their own, and then vehicles or monsters will probably get their own and go from there.
Yeah, otherwise, with the way the game is right now, legitimately the entire top 10 list would be monsters and vehicles. Or maybe characters. One exception, yeah. But, or characters. And we want to talk about them all, on their merits now.
Alone. Yeah.
Alone.
And then we also try to include just generally one unit from every army in the game right now. There are tons of very good units. Also, certain armies would dominate the entire tier list if we allowed them to, which would be kind of boring.
Yeah, so we took the best unit out of each codex, and when there's some other ones we can mention, we'll talk about those.
We'll bring it up. Yeah.
The Army Painter is my favorite hobby company in the entire world. My desk is literally full of Army Painter products, and it takes me from being an average painter to putting above tabletop standard models out into the tournament scene. Not only that, but the Army Painter has sponsored more competitive play than any other hobby company in the industry. They allow us to keep doing the things that we do. If you enjoy the Army Painter as much as I do, head over to thearmypainter.com where you can use the discount code ARTWAR5 to get a discount on your next order.
I think from there, let's just go ahead and move on to number 10 then.
Number 10, Incursors. A little bit of a dark horse here. I don't think most people would give this one the time of day. And the reason for that, I think, is that it just blends in to the rest of what Space Marines has to offer, right? If you're looking at 80-point skirmish units in Space Marines, you've got like 7 options, and most of them are pretty decent. But for me, Incursors is the best one, and that's because it's just a ridiculous toolbox, whereas most things just do one thing. Jump Pack Intercessors, 90 points, they fight something on an objective. That's kind of what they do. Scouts, they infiltrate. They don't really do anything much, but they take up some space. That's grand. Reavers go take an objective. Fantastic. Incursors, though, Incursors can dance, they can sing, they can act. They're a triple threat.
They're the triple threat. Well, what's the triple here?
So, first things first, they're just Marines that can scout, which is great. For 80 points, that's just pretty good. In addition, they can defend themselves. We're not talking about scouts here. They're AP1 in combat, and they have sustained hits. So that means they can actually defend themselves from things like striking scorpions or other, infiltrating units. And they have a 3-up save. So they're reasonably tanky. That's great. They also come equipped with a Melt-A-Mine, which seems not that big of a deal, but it actually is a pretty huge deal because it can contribute to some damage combos. And because it triggers at the start of any phase, if an opponent's unit is within 3 inches, if they charge you, bam, take D3 mortals before anything happens. You want to go put down a big vehicle running around, causing some problems, you can walk up, do 2d3 mortals to it, then throw a grenade, right? You want to kill an Emperor's Children Demon Prince, D3 mortals, then a grenade. It's at half health before you've even started doing anything. So you can use it to win skirmish fights, you can use it to try and crack big targets. It's very helpful just to have a source of mortals on your side of the board.
All right, that's 2. What's 3?
3 is they buff your whole army in the shooting phase. So their bolt guns, they look non-threatening, not that intimidating. But if they hit you with them, that's when the fun begins.
Heat-seeking bolters.
That's right. If they hit you with their bolt guns, the rest of your army gets +1 to hit that target in shooting, which is massive.
That's a really big deal because big issues that Space Marines can have, right, is they're very oath reliant on specific targets. And then you can have +1 to hit somewhere, oath somewhere else, or you can just stack it, right? Just be hit on 2s everywhere, plus rerolls, have 100% efficiency. And then the moment you have sustained or lethals or something, you get over 100% efficiency, right?
Yep. As you're pointing out, Marines are very good at killing one thing, but getting to that second thing, if you're not prepared for it in list design, this is one of the ways to do that, can be a little tough. So let's say you need to go kill something in combat with oaths, but you also need to kill something in shooting with oaths. Well, you just shoot that thing with the Incursor bolt guns. The rest of your army gets +1 to hit, good enough usually, and then you still get oaths in combat. And that is on top of a unit that scouts, that skirmishes well, that can punch down into other skirmish units really well, and comes with a Melt-A-Mine as well.
Yeah, and the big thing to note too is that going from 3s to 2s may not sound like a big deal, but it legitimately halves the amount of average misses you hit, right?
Yes.
Like it's actually a huge math breakpoint.
3s with no rerolls are just not a reliable thing to be shooting, whereas 2s is where it becomes reliable.
Yeah, you can generally be like, okay, I'm probably going to get all the shots I go through unless I hit like the astronomical, even just 2d6, it's 1 in 36, you roll 2 1s, right? Like something preposterous.
So the crazy thing about this unit is it's an 80-point unit in the exact same vein as all the other 80-point units, but all the other 80-point units do one thing, and this can do their thing for them, right? You can have Reavers that scout and fight, or you can have Incursors that scout and fight. About as hard, actually.
Incursors are just better.
They're just better.
Notably, the Scouts have like some other things they're competing for, but they're cheaper, right? So that's like the big competition point. And then Intercessors have their own like dedicated job. Incursors are great of like, man, I have 80 points, but I already have Intercessors, or maybe I already have Scouts. I just want you that will do something. Incursors like literally perfect for that.
Yep. They'll skirmish. They'll contribute when your opponent rushes you down. They're a great unit. You can even take them for your home objective, right? And just poke one dude forward when the shooting starts and just pop a shot downrange.
Yeah, which is totally fine, which is very easy to do on a lot of GW layouts. For instance, like on 1, when you're in that corner, you just put one little Marine body out and then keep the guys in the back. Like, super easy.
They're not going to kill the unit in one shot while the fighting's happening. So just pull that guy and you're good.
Yep. Move on with your life. So number 9 is going to be the Court of the Archon. Now, this is probably going to be kind of a shock for a lot of people to actually put a Drukhari unit on this tier list. But the Court of the Archon like is legitimately good.
Yeah. The Drukhari are not the best army in spite of Court of the Archon existing in their book, not because of Court of the Archon existing in their book.
Right, like Drukhari have fundamental problems, but a few data sheets genuinely are really great. So to highlight the Court of the Archon, it's going to give your Cabalites 4 very specific abilities. Lethal hits, -1 to wound, a battle shock test on a target shot in the shooting phase, and fights first, which is like...
That's a lot of rules.
Really good. So back then, you used to be able to run this with like the Tantalus. You take 10 Cabalites, the Court of the Archon plus the Archons, take them in a Tantalus. They have since taken that away. So now you have to run it a little bit differently. You can do 5 Cabalites, the Court of the Archon and the Archon, in a Raider, which is actually a pretty good package. Notably, Raiders just went down, actually, in the most recent data slate. So it makes that package a little bit cheaper and still performs great. The other way is you can take the big brick, run it on foot. Drukhari are still elves, so they are still fast at the end of the day, right? So
the unit moves quick.
Yeah, so you can really still get in there just fine when you really need to. I'm more tempted to say the 5-man plus Court plus Archon and a Raider is a little more interesting to me. Get a little more agile maneuverability out of it. I'm not convinced the 5 more Cabalites give you that much leeway.
I've seen it run both ways, and it's been effective both ways.
Yeah.
Man, that fight first with reroll hits, reroll wounds, lethal hits, none of the profiles look that scary.
It's just too many attacks.
It's too many attacks. And it's also, they go, oh, the Lawman's going to swing, and that kills a dude. Oh, the Urgle's going to swing, that kills a dude. The Slith's going to swing, that kills 2 dudes. The Archon's going to swing, that'll kill 2 dudes. The Bombian is going to swing and is going to kill a guy. Yeah. And then the Sybarite's going to swing and kill a guy. And with real hits and wounds, that isn't crazy. That's just like what should happen. And by the end of that, you're down like 8 guys.
Yeah. It can swing up pretty hard because it's honestly not that expensive at the end of the day either, which is really quite nice. So I think this is a really good anchor unit for the Drukhari army. I think you're going to close to see minimum like 2 in a lot of lists these days, right?
And you're definitely going to see the 1. The question is, do you want to get the 2nd? Because the Vect aura off of the Archon is a significant part of why this unit is so annoying.
Yeah, that is true.
And you don't get on the 2nd one.
That's the other important part to highlight it. This is also going to be your Vect Archon. So you go into a fights first that has a Vect aura and all these buffs. And it's really just a nightmare to deal with. Whenever you're fighting Drukhari, your whole game plan is always around like, how do I deal with the Court of the Archon? And then it kind of figures out the rest from there.
Yeah. Number 8, we've got the Noise Marine. See, there's a lot of best units in the game in Emperor's Children, right? Because they have some good data sheets in there. But one of them's a character, one of them's both a character and a monster. So not going to appear on this here list. But the unit that is going to appear on the list is Noise Marines. Noise Marines are the shooting Marines in Emperor's Children. They come stock with 2 Blastmasters and 4 Sonic Blasters. All of it ignores cover. The 2 Blastmasters are combined 6 shots at strength 10, AP2, damage 3.
It's so painful.
Which is very painful.
So painful.
In addition, if they take Coterie of the Conceited, suddenly they get reroll 1s to hit, 1s to wound pretty easily going on. It's a very reliable shooting platform. They're also toughness 5, so they're a little more annoying to get rid of than you might want them to be. And they combo really well with rhinos.
Yeah, the Rhino synergy is probably like what keeps the Noise Marine engine alive, right? Because the firing deck gets all the rules, essentially.
Yep.
And you only really care about the Blastmasters most of the time, which conveniently the firing decks has 2 perfect slots for 2 Blastmasters at the end of the day.
Yep. These units can advance and shoot all around the board, but they can't shoot at a target that somebody else advanced and shot at. So what you do is you advance the Rhino and you get the dudes out, and the dudes haven't advanced. The Rhino did.
Can you advance a Emperor's Children Rhino and disembark it?
You certainly can.
Wow.
Yep.
That's so
So you
cool.
advance the Rhino, you get the guys out, and there's suddenly no downside to the advance and shoot that you would otherwise do.
It's pretty good.
Or you get the guys into the Rhino, and then the Rhino moves, and you shoot the guys out of the top, making them really annoying to deal with. There's just a ton of mobility tricks when you combine this unit and a Rhino, and they'll just shoot you all day long.
Yeah.
Because there's just no way to get away from these units without conceding a tremendous amount of board space.
And the fact that the Blastmasters are strength 10, it's like, for instance, it just cracks transports pretty decently, right? Not all the time, but enough of the time you have to genuinely be very respectful of this, where you can't just stick a Rhino out in the middle of the open. You can't stick a truck out in the middle of the open. You can't stick an Impulsor out in the middle of the open, or else, like, sometimes Blastmasters will just kill it. And you're like, oh man, that's really bad, actually.
Really quite bad.
So
Yeah.
you get in like this awkward dance where like the melee units are pressuring up on you, the Noise Marines are controlling the lanes and not allowing you to stage aggressively into them as well. And you just like lose the dance in a lot of ways, right? And it sucks.
It does. They have consistent damage, which means that they are kind of the inevitability engine of the Emperor's Children army. What I mean by that is you can't take them to the face for like 4 turns and be okay. But they're in Rhinos shooting you from all kinds of corners, and 3 Demon Princes, maybe a Mauler Fiend or 2, a bunch of, infractors plus exultant packages. They're all in your face threatening to table you right now. So you have to deal with them, a thing that is not the easiest to do.
They're tough.
And while that's going on, the Noise Marines are just sitting there going chunk, 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 just taking chunks out of your army. And if you let that go on for too long, they're too mobile. You can't get away from them. So once the damage is done, they'll clean up.
Yeah, that's like the big thing to highlight about Emperor's Children that's been the problem the whole time. It's just an overwhelming wave that like just crushes you underneath it. Like you can't survive it. You can fight out of the wall sometimes and it'd be okay. But the issue is I found that unless you strike Emperor's Children first, you're just kind of fighting on their terms at the end of the day, right?
You have to punch back and hit them hard enough to put them on their heels, because getting away from them or outmaneuvering them just isn't in the cards.
Yeah, it can happen. They're just blatantly the best skirmishers in the game. No one beats them at it. No one is better than them at it. And they're just going to win no matter what. So I really think what you said about the inevitability engine is why this unit makes the spot on the tier list, right? It's the guarantee. Or else you could just kind of fight the melee war and win. But with Noise Marines,
you're getting shot. And then if you just keep fighting the melee fight, you're going to keep getting shot by profiles that are very good at killing the kind of things that can deal with Emperor's Children in melee.
Yeah.
So very good unit. Very good unit.
It's great. We could talk a lot about Emperor's Children data sheets.
Sure we could.
Time to move on.
There are 7 better data sheets that are not monsters, vehicles, or characters in the game, and we will talk about them.
On to the next one. All right, so number 7 is going to be Chaos Spawn. This kind of just generically all Chaos Spawn, but we're going to specifically highlight the best one of them all, the World Eater's Chaos Spawn.
Not CSM Chaos Spawn. They are OC0 for some reason.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Asterisk, don't include CSM Chaos Spawn.
Yeah, they got the short end of the stick for sure.
I don't know why they like went on this little design path. They were like, all right, guys, Chaos Spawn are like really good, cheap guys, but they're going to be OC0. Anyway, let's scratch that immediately.
Yep, where they're back to OC1 and they're cracked.
Yeah, give them all as OC again and special abilities. Just make a Chaos Spawn as good as possible.
So the best unit on this tier list, like 6 months ago on the non-monster vehicle character units tier list, was the Chaos Spawn. Mm-hmm. And I thought for sure there's no way that Chaos Spawn are going to be as good in the new book. And they're not. They're better.
Yeah.
Somehow. So Chaos Spawn used to be the best skirmisher in the entire game, because you could give them a forward feel no pain, they'd heal D3 wounds in either player's command phase. You just couldn't kill the little guys. And they were amazing. They never lose skirmish fights, whatever. Now, My word. They gave them an upgrade. So you can't get to a 4 field no pain anymore. They're just a 5-up, and they don't heal.
Oh, no.
But in exchange, what they gained was +2 movement, Scout 8, which is a crazy rule to just, by the way, add on.
8 is a big number, too.
It's a big number.
8 is a really big number.
You start right in midfield.
Yeah.
So +2 move, Scout 8, advance and charge on their data sheet, and 2 extra attacks per guy.
So D6 plus 4?
D6 plus 4, D6 plus 5 on the charge at 7/1/2, with access to lethal sustained, lethal devs against infantry, with access to +1 to hit, with access to +1 AP.
How many points is this unit?
80.
That's so cheap, dude.
Yeah.
That's so cheap.
They are little fast guys that just sprint around the board at top speed. Scout 8, move 10, advance and charge base is ludicrously fast.
Yeah. The World Eaters one is great. I'll highlight the other Cult Legions ones really quick that are also pretty good. So the Death Guard one reflects damage and also scouts, which is pretty good for a Death Guard guy.
That is neat.
The Tzeentch one heals flat 3 and has a 5-up invuln. So they're tough in a different way, but the Thousand Suns ones are also notably cheap. They're 65 points.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And then the Emperor's Children Chaos Spawn has a reactive move, which is really quite good, actually. If it's flat 6, if I remember correctly.
It is very good.
Which is a really good ability. So all 4 of them are unique in different ways. The World Eaters just has so many buffs to apply to them, whereas like Thousand Suns 1 are like, they're just tough, or the Death Guard ones,
neat.
they scout. The Emperor's Children were like, oh, okay, another mobile unit. But like the World Eaters one is just like...
the World Eaters ones are coming to beat
it
your
does
ass,
actions,
man. They're coming.
and it scouts, and it's fast, and it's a hammer in some ways as well, right? Like, it's just cool. Like,
Dude,
it's just really good.
If that unit didn't exist, I would think that the Thousand Suns matchup into them would be like a full tier better.
Yeah.
Because those little guys can go like 18 inches on turn 1.
And beat up
plus an
rubrics.
advance, plus a charge, and kill rubrics.
Which is bad.
Yeah, it's real bad.
I think that the World Eaters Chaos Spawn are another unit that are just a excellent anchor for an army that hold it down and just like keep the fort going.
Yep. They're really good also when you have like the dynamic that World Eaters do, where turn 1, I want to post up in the midfield and give myself the best options to play the game. And Spawn are just a little heat-seeking missile. Oh, is that a unit of scouts over there?
Get 'em.
Go get them, boys!
Sick 'em.
Get them!
Sick 'em.
Kill them! you send them in to pick off the little things or move block. I went to a tournament where I just scouted them forward and advanced and stuck them in the little crevices on layout 1 where you can't get out now.
Oh, yeah.
And then I just terraformed the midfield objectives and passed back to my opponent.
Whoopsies.
Oops, guess I win.
Oh, what a silly, silly rule these guys are. But they're great.
They're so good.
Very deserving to belong on this list. And I think we're settled for Chaos Spawn, so let's move on.
Number 6, Sanguinary Guard. We're just rolling in my field now.
These are. You got a lot of good units right now.
This is my favorite unit in 40k over the additions.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is. I've been playing for 13 years. My favorite unit in the game is Sanguinary Guard.
That's cool.
I played them all throughout 9th. I took them on a whim to like a little RTT and developed the aggressive like jump pack Blood Angel thing as a meme. And then I took it to LVO and I won LVO with Sanguinary Guard carrying me. And now Sanguinary Guard, I went back to LVO with 3 units of Sanguinary Guard, got 3rd, you know.
That's right. You did go back to back with Blood Angels.
That's right. Sanguinary Guard, they're just here for me, man. They got my back.
Everybody's got their little pet, you know. And these are your little pet.
And they went down. They went down 20 points per 3. They were good before. They're really good now.
20 points for 3 models is pretty significant. It's like close to 7 points per model or something along those lines.
Which is crazy.
Like
the 6-man, luckily for everyone involved, did not go down 40 points. It also went down 20.
Got it.
So the 3-man became more efficient. The 6-man is just more of a hammer. If it went down 40 points, Jover, man, it would just be 18 of those things everywhere, running people over.
Yeah, and thankfully, we had the foresight to avoid this, because like the moment one tanky brick is too strong, it's over, dude.
Yep.
Ruins the meta.
So what is so good about Sanguinary Guard? Well, let's talk about their stats. First off, they are a 3-wound Marine with a jump pack. That is very good. In addition, they have 4 attacks apiece at strength 6, AP 3, damage 2. AP 3 notably is a massive breakpoint on a melee unit.
Especially baseline.
Sometimes
you can get to AB 3 with like a buff or like a strat or something along those lines, but baseline is like crazy.
You do not need it at all. Now, they do hit on 3s natively, which is a little wonky, right? You'd expect Sanguinary Guard to hit on 2s. Dante's unit just will hit on 2s. He gives them +1 to hit.
Right.
It's pretty great. But there's ways to add reliability to them. In addition, they have a 2-up armor and a 4-up invuln with access to Armor of Contempt, cover, all that. Makes them tankier than your opponent would want to deal with. And then in combat, they're -1 to hit and -1 to wound. Not of strength greater, just flat, if there's a character in the unit. Used to be the Warlord. And they also used to be 42 points a model, or 43 points a model.
Those were
and they
dark
also
times.
used to be 2 wounds. And they also used to be AP 2 and strength 5. They were terrible at the start of the edition.
Yeah.
I blame myself. But now they hit incredibly hard, and they're very durable. In combat, people underestimate their durability constantly, and people overestimate how much they can live through them constantly. My favorite thing to find out in the lead up to LVO was that in Angelic Inheritors, 3 Sanguinary Guard plus a captain would routinely just beat Deathwing Knights in combat.
Which is wild.
It is wild.
Because that's a hard unit to shift. Like,
You would
super
think.
hard.
-1 damage on a mono 2 damage unit. It's over, right? It's GG. But you're so fast that you're always the one getting the charge. Then you go in, they don't Armor of Contempt because you're AP 3, and you drop like 16, 18 wounds on them. And they fail their 4-ups, and they lose like half the unit, and they swing back with -1 to hit, -1 to wound, and Armor of Contempt. Maybe even CP rolling a save if you feel like you have a captain in there. You can feel free to splurge. And you wouldn't even lose a guy. You take 2 damage on one of your guys. And they'd be like, oh no, I have to fall back now because I'm going to lose this combat if I stay here.
Yeah.
And that happens with Sanguinary Guard constantly. Angelic Inheritors, they can fall back and charge, so they're this dynamic mobile threat. I love this unit. This unit is just a Swiss Army knife of a melee unit that just does everything you want.
Yeah, and I'm really happy too that the iconic Blood Angels unit is like legitimately good right now. It's always really sad whenever any army has like an iconic unit for them and it just is like in the dumpster. And it's just like, man, I just want to play my cool thing. Blood Angels are definitely playing the cool thing right now. They're actually playing a lot of cool things all at the table at the same time.
Yeah.
It was really cool because like your current list has like what, like a Ball Predator, Sanguinary Guard.
2 Ball Predators.
Do you have Dante?
Of course I have Dante.
Yeah, you got
He's
Dante.
the GOAT, man.
Yeah, dude, you got like so much cool stuff in it, right? It's like an actual Blood Angels list, which is nice. All right, before we move on to the top 5 units for today, we just want to remind you to like, comment, subscribe, give us your own top 10 list down below. Tell us, Jack, why he's wrong, why Sanguinary Guard are like not, they're terrible,
They're bad.
unit.
They're horrible. Just let me know
Awful.
down in the comments below.
Remind us how much we hate Necrons.
We do,
Because
a
clearly
lot.
we haven't talked about a Necron unit yet. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler, it's coming. The rant is, it's building up.
And then don't forget to check out the War Room, guys. So the warroom.vhx.tv, there is a 3-day free trial where we honestly put all of these units onto the table. We get into a lot of high level strategy where we discuss how to use these units and how to beat them, most importantly, right? We have lots of games to check out. And then let's move on to number 5. Number 5 is going to be the Fire Dragon.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot with these guys recently. I've been tooling up some Eldar, some cooking in some kitchens.
Yeah, I think the big thing to highlight about Fire Dragons, just off the cuff, is that they're basically in every single Eldar list all of the time.
Yes.
It's just a really good anti-tank unit. So it rerolls all hits, all wounds, and all damage rolls into vehicles or monsters in your shooting phase. Thankfully, they did not give this in the Overwatch phase. That would make me very sad. And they're just pointed well, interact well with like the Falcon, transports, even just running around on foot by themselves. And then something you've been playing with recently is the 10-man with Fugan.
Yes. So the 10-man with Fugan's very, very good, especially in War Host. You can make it work in Aspect Host as well. You get them out, they all get extra range. So instead of 12-inch range guns, where half the time it's a one-way trip, right? They have 18-inch range guns, so they're Melta at 9. They're full rerolls to hit, wound, and damage. With 10 guys, you can split fire and pick up multiple tanks reliably, which is very nice. I mean, the unit is just the epitome of what a tank hunter up close should be.
Yeah.
You have reliability because you reroll everything.
And the tokens.
You have the tokens. The tokens are amazing. So you have Aspect Shrine tokens, which once per game, you can burn an Aspect Shrine token, and every 5 Aspect Warriors in a unit gives you a token. And you can flip a hit or a wound to a 6. So what oftentimes will happen is you fire the unit, it rerolls to hit, so it'll just hit basically every shot.
Right.
And then you reroll to wound, and you're strength 9 on most of the guns, strength 12 on the fire pike, which is my preferred Exarch weapon. And so you wound with a lot of them, and then you just +1. You just add an extra 1 in there. And now you're wounding a tank that's like toughness 10 with like 4 wounds at AP4, D6 plus 3 damage, because they're better than your Meltaguns. They'd like you to know.
Which is nasty. Like,
you just blow tanks away. They
yeah.
just die.
And like every time I watch a fire dragon walk up to something, I'm like, man, this is just dead.
They're
like
so fast.
Even like Mutilative Vortex Beast, they walk up to him and like, he's just dead.
He's just dead.
I know he's got a 5 bindle and 5 feel no pain, 13 wounds. He's just gone, dude.
You walk up to a knight, they pass most of their saves, they fail 4 saves, they're dead.
Yeah,
like oops, sorry.
This is the hammer that Eldar also really need, because notably the rest of the line is pretty bad at what they do.
Yes. Fire dragons are actually so good at doing damage and shooting that they're good into like elite infantry as well. Because you put Fugan in there, although Fugan does a lot of this heavy lifting because of his spread shot on his gun.
Yeah, which is also a really good gun.
Which is very good gun, which enables the unit to shoot into basically anything. And you can stack buffs on it really well. Anytime you give that unit like a sustained hits or lethal hits, well, you can just flip a hit to a 6. And then suddenly you get 2 fire pike hits that are strength 12, AP4, damage D6 plus 3 that you then reroll wounds on.
Gross.
Yep. And you just execute a tank.
Yeah, because units like Deathwing Knights, for instance, would be really painful for Eldar to deal with, but the Fire Dragons give you like an actual answer into these units that isn't like my Howling Banshees go in and do no damage.
Kill a guy, probably.
Kill like a guy and then die horribly
it's
in
bad.
return.
It's bad.
Right?
It's bad.
Yeah, so the Fire Dragons earn the spot. They're like one of the best anti-tank units in the game.
Yeah, there's very few units for that points cost, 120 for 5, that can walk up to within 6 inches of a tank. They're not slow, by the way. Okay, in Warhost, if you burn a token, this is what I play it in, right? So Warhost, you spend a token, you advance, you get out of a vehicle 13 plus D6 inches because all of their guns are assault, I forgot to mention.
Yeah.
Every single gun in that unit is an assault weapon.
Which is
so you
good.
go super fast, get within 6 inches, and like basically always kill a tank that doesn't have an invuln.
Yep.
And if the tank does have an invuln, you probably kill it.
Yeah, it's just sometimes you don't.
Sometimes you don't.
Sometimes you don't.
Sometimes you don't.
Most of the time you do. And also, like, the Falcon can go a long way. For instance, like going into not vehicles or monsters, triggering that wound reroll on Fire Dragons for, like, say, Cavalry that are really tough, like TCAF, for instance, or another unit such as Terminators that can be difficult to shift. It's just good. This unit just does everything.
They take buffs really well. Like, they take sustained hits really well because you can flip the hit roll. Like, for example, you can split fire and kill 2 rhinos every single time, because the Exarch will shoot with a fire pike at one rhino.
Specifically the Fugan squad.
No.
You mean just 5 Fire Dragons?
Just 5 fire dragons,
Wow.
basically. So you go sustained hits, you shoot the Exarch. If you don't get a 6, you re-roll. If you don't get a 6, you flip it to a 6. That's 2 hits.
Right.
The wound on 3s, full re-rolls, no save, D6 plus 3, re-rolling damage on both of those.
That should kill.
And then 4 guys that full re-rolls to hit with sustained hits that wound on 4s, full re-rolls, no save, D6 plus 3, re-rolling damage.
That's kind of a lot.
It's a lot, man.
It's a lot.
You can split and you can pick stuff up, especially if you have other units in there willing to pick up a spare if it's left alive on 1 wound. You can give it sustained hits. You can give it sustained 5s if you have Lycus in the area. Full rerolls to hit is gross on that. You
Just
can
a little bit of
plus
everything.
1 to wound with Eldrad if it's a unit of infantry or whatever. So you can do a ton of damage with these things. They're kind of the Swiss Army knife, but they really are good at doing that one thing, which is getting close to a vehicle and picking it up.
The definition of a hammer.
Yes.
Just great.
Other Eldar units that were in consideration here, Warp Spiders, I think, are really, really strong right now. They are also a 3 of in my list.
Big competitor.
They go 24 inches. If you want to go faster, you can. You can go with a token. They shoot infantry to death at light speed. They're just super good. They're basically the Fire Dragons of killing infantry.
Let's move on to our next one, which is going to be the Zangor Enlightened.
Yeah, this unit is not a hammer. Not like the previous unit.
No.
It's not very expensive.
Cheap.
Cheap. So sing me the praises of the Zangor Enlightened, specifically the Fate Caster Great Bows.
Yeah, so this is going to be specifically the Fate Casters. The Spear guys are like aggressively fine, but the bow guys are great.
They're aggressive.
Yeah, so their weapons from the Index picked up a pretty significant upgrade. So they're going to be now Strength 5, AP 2 for 2, range 30, with the keywords Precision, Lethal Hits, and Ignores Cover, which is like a lot. Notably, it does hit on 4s, but also notably, we have an army rule that lets us roll all our hits on demand when we need to, right? So not a big deal.
It's a quarter of your army rule, right?
Quarter of my
Space Marines get
quarter
the
of my
whole army rule
cool,
is that, but yeah.
Dude, it's conditional. I have to roll 3d6 on 10, which is not average. Okay.
But if you miss, you also just get reroll once to hit.
Oh god.
Or you just try again until you get it.
Yeah, I mean maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Possibly.
Maybe.
Carry on.
It's fine.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
There's 2 notable ways that you can kind of see this unit. So it is still a 10-inch flying OC 6 total. Each model's 2 unit. Or you can take it in a big 6-man with an Exalted Sorcerer on disc, give it mini lone op, so you just have like a genuine like sniper brick that's running around. The mini lone op interacts really well with their other ability, which is the D6-inch reactive move whenever you move within 9 of them, which can further emphasize how strong your mini lone op is ability. So it can do damage, has good OC, it's very cheap, because also the thing to note is that a 6-man is only 80 points.
Yeah, the pricing on these guys a little whack.
Yeah, so the 3-man's 50, the 6-man's 80. I can understand how we ended up in this place. The old data sheet, you would literally never run a 6-man of. Like,
yes.
That just would never happen. I think GW may have just missed the mark just a little on how much better they made the Zangor Enlightened.
Dynamic pricing is really cool.
Yeah.
For example, Fire Dragons are worse in a 10-man, if you don't take Fugan, than a 5-man, because a 5-man's such a little efficient little missile. So they price the 10-man at 220 and the 5-man at 120. Some units get better when they are in a full unit size rather than a minimum unit size, and as such, those units tend to be priced a little higher.
Yep.
You see that for things like Jackals, of all things, 140 for 20, 65 for 10. So sometimes they just miss the mark on that. Maybe a 6-man is actually better and cheaper per model than a 3-man.
Yeah, this unit just needs to go to 50 and 100, because I think 50 for the 3-man legitimately is fine. I could see an argument for 55 to 60. Without buffs, they don't really do much at the end of the day.
No.
But the 6-man with all the buffs becomes a very powerful unit. So it needs to just be literally plus 20 points, and it'll be okay at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, a reactive moving unit that has OC6, moves very fast, can be double moved, has lethal hits, has precision too, which people aren't used to protecting their characters right now.
Yeah,
precision's kind of bad outside of combat.
Range 30 precision, right? So that's really a big deal.
Yeah,
you can't hide from all angles, especially the 10-inch double moving. Well, they'd semi-double move because they can move up to 16, not 20.
It's still very fast.
Which is still very fast at the end of the day. But yeah, this unit is here because it's cheap, it's flexible, it does tons of damage. You're seeing this in every single Thousand Suns list right now.
I can't imagine a list that doesn't take a bunch of these guys.
Really don't have a bad thing to say about this unit in any way. Now, there's some other notable, really good Thousand Suns units. The Rubric Marine is definitely a big competitor in this spot, right? Because the Rubric Marine is obviously an excellent data sheet. It does a little bit of everything. I just think the Zangor at the moment is a little more abusable than the good old Rubric Marine. I think the Rubric Marine is just in a good spot.
Yeah, it's a unit that can be answered because it's short range. It's not that durable, right? We're talking about the Rubric Marines. Whereas the Fatecaster Greatbow Boys are cheaper, can shoot you from the cheap seats, and can be mini lone op. It's very, very interesting. You take both for sure, but well, the Zangor Enlightened's the ones that made the list.
Yeah, and it was a big miss on me. I read the Exalted Sorcerer could lead the Zangor Enlightened now, and I was like, how silly.
How
why would I ever do that?
How crazy.
Whatever. Why would I do that? And then, we discovered that, wow, turns out these guns are pretty good now.
They are pretty slamming. And the mini lone op means if you pre-measure just right, maybe you're the only one shooting.
Exactly, which is a very rare thing to be able to do. There's not a lot of very strong lone op or mini lone op shooting units that don't get punched back in return. So we could sing the praises of Zangors forever, but I think we've covered it and we can move on to the next one.
Number 3, Thunderwolf Cavalry.
Yeah.
You've been painting a bunch of these recently.
I have been painting so many of them. They look great. Check it out in the War Room and you can see how cool those Space Wolves are, guys. For the first time ever on this channel, there is a great looking Space Wolf army. I'm actually painting even more Space Wolves.
That's right. You're going full wolf.
We're going full wolf, dude. We're going to have eventually every kind of Space Wolf imaginable. It just takes time because there's a lot of Space Wolves out there.
And your sanity, too.
There's a lot of Space Wolves and a lot of my sanity to protect. But Thunderwolf Cavalry. So this is a bit of an interesting data sheet. One, they survived from the index.
Did not expect that.
Yeah, so they killed all the characters. The big difference here is that the characters were all in fine cast, whereas the Thunderwolf Cavalry unit is actually in plastic, right? So that's the big major difference. The other thing to note is that Thunderwolf Cavalry now move 12. They also changed how their weapon damage works. So the Wolf Guard weapon is 4 attacks at 5/2/2. And then the Wolf Bites are 3 attacks at 5/1/1. Notably, you only get the +1 damage on the 2 damage attack now instead of both of them. This is great because how it interacts actually with -1 damage. -1 damage before for Thunderwolf Cavalry could be a really big problem because both of your weapons would immediately go back down to damage 1. But instead, you're actually going to get a total of 3 damage because the 3 damage weapon goes down to 2, and then the dog bites just stay at 1 all the time as always.
Yep. And a sneaky thing in here is that before, they were AP1 on everything.
Yeah.
And you could pump out enough attacks that would be fine. You could overwhelm 2-up armor saves. You could overwhelm 3-up armor saves with Armor of Contempt. But what you could not do is overwhelm 2-up armor saves with Armor of Contempt. Just was not going to happen.
Yeah.
So going to AP2 on these things, maybe you're in the Gladius, you go to AP3.
Pretty good.
It's pretty good. And damage 3 is very good into the kind of things that would give Thunderwolf Cavalry problems, like elite infantry. Suddenly -1 damage on things like Deathwing Knights and Death Shroud Terminators. Maybe it doesn't matter because 2 go through and it still kills you.
You just chew through it.
You just chew through it anyway.
Yeah. The big reason that I think this unit did actually earn its spot on the list is its aggressive points costing, because the rules are very great baseline, but the points warp this unit into a different direction. So 3 of them is going to be 100 points. Notably, that is 3 models that are T6 with 4 wounds and a 4-up invuln, right? Because you're always going to take the Storm Shield. You're never going to take the pistol.
Yeah.
Silly mean.
You want a bolt pistol or you want an invuln?
Yeah. 6 of them are 220 points, which I still actually is quite cheap. The 3-mans are a 100-point skirmishing unit that requires a real unit in return. Like, no trash unit fights back at Thunderwolf Cavalry. It's 100 points for 12 wounds at a 4-up invuln and T6.
Yep.
Like, I mean, that is just genuinely so cheap. This has excellent synergy with Gladius, because you get them in with advance and charge. They're stuck in. Okay, I'm going to fall back and charge next turn because you didn't kill all the dudes that are 12 wounds, 4-up invuln. And then you can just keep pumping, right? You can just keep going.
Yeah.
You have a whole army of T6 4-up invulns between Wolfguard Terminators and all the stuff.
All those units could make the list, by the way.
All those units could make the list, 100%.
Thunderwolf Cavalry are the most aggressively what are we doing costed.
Yeah, I think Thunderwolf Cavalry they obviously need to go up somewhere between 10 to 20 points, I imagine. And that's probably fine at the end of the day. Yeah. Because there is no character support. They'd have no access to enhancements. They're just a good, beefy skirmisher that punches real good, has good OC, and is very fast.
Yeah, great stats.
Great stats. That's it. This unit is just the definition of a good old stat check.
Yep.
He's just a bruiser that runs in and he's like, I'm a tough puncher, and that's all he does. He doesn't do anything else.
I mean, I would be lying if I said I wasn't concerned that 660 points in the Stormlance buys you 18 of these little guys, because with -1 to wound, -1 to hit access, right? Advance and charge on something that moves 12,
sometimes
maybe advance
21.
and charge, maybe advance 9 inches in charge, right? These units are terrifying, and the fact that they're AP2 now, because the Stormlance had no way to benefit AP,
yeah,
I'm scared of 18 of these things running around my local meta, because they can just kill you. They can just kill you. They move incredibly fast. And now with AP2, I'm worried you might not be able to stop them from doing the damage.
Yeah, before you could honestly just kind of AOC them and then just like, oh no, I took no damage. But now, like,
you're going to need to kill these things is really what it's going to take.
Yeah, they just draw out enemy firepower because they're cheap enough. You can just throw them away. It's really not a big deal. It's like, oh no, 100 points, or oh no, 200. And except like, it took your whole army to kill this. It's just great. So Thunderwolf Cavalry deserve their spot here. They're excellent. They're going to come storm your local meta. And if they don't, your local meta is just wrong. And they need to start bringing Thunderwolf Cavalry. They're so good.
Very, very good unit.
It's very excellent.
But there are 2 units better.
Number 2 is going to be the Death Shroud Terminator. I'm sure many viewers are wondering, where are all the Death Guard units?
Where's the Death Guard units? Well, they're going to make the list eventually.
They're going to make the list. We're also going to notably talk a lot about them in the characters, vehicles, and monsters, because boy, do they have a lot of good ones right now.
Yeah, honestly, their units are only okay. Their characters, monsters, and vehicles are correct.
Yeah, they're the best part of the list. But notably, the Death Shroud Terminator is like great across the board. T7, 2 up, 4 up, 4 wounds, has a special rule that if an enemy unit is within contagion range, then you may 6-inch deep strike off of that unit, which is notably very difficult to screen properly because that is a lot of different angles you can hit all at the same time. It's like, oh, what if that unit over there goes over there? And then certain detachments can also bump the contagion range. So it's like, oh, what if you put this unit over here with increased contagion range and then this pocket exists? You have to start like drawing a bunch of lines on a whiteboard and then you're still going to mess it up somewhere at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this unit essentially has deep strike and charge baked into its data sheet with extra steps, right? Sometimes Mortarian's Hammer, you have to point at a unit.
Sometimes it costs you a CP.
Sometimes it costs you a CP. Sometimes you just have to run a plague drone forward and then you drop in and charge. But that is an amazing deliverability tool. In addition, they hit ungodly hard.
Yeah, their punch got a lot better. So they're going to have 4 attacks at strength 8, AP 2 for 2. Or they can have 8 sweeps at 411 for lethal, which is like really crazy.
They also hit on 2s on their strikes, 3 on their sweeps. They have a lot of attacks if they go sweeps, or they have some very high quality attacks if they go strikes. They have lethal hits. They have a lot of ways to increase the damage here. One notable one is just reducing your armor save by 1. So that AP 1 on the sweeps, that looks a lot like AP 2.
100%.
That AP 2 on the strikes looks a lot like AP 3. And now it's just like a better sanguinary guard because it's +1 to hit and +2 strength. Solid.
Very and there's good. A couple characters here that can be applied that can also increase the damage quite a bit. The Lord of the Contagion is the most notable one because it gives his unit sustained and lance.
So lethal hits, sustained hits, and lance.
And lance in an army that has an aura of -1 toughness goes a wee bit farther than it normally does.
Yeah, so just to put this in perspective, in the right detachment, I had a friend tell me 3 of these guys plus a Lord of Contagion puts down a big Chaos Knight, an abhorrent class Chaos Knight with -1 damage.
Which is wild.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So you go in there with a Lord of Contagion, everybody sweeps. You go full rerolls to hit, full rerolls to wound, crit 5s.
Yeah.
So lethal sustained 5s, full rerolls to hit and wound, +1 to wound, -1 to your armor save with 34 attacks is just a dead knight.
Yeah. Notably, this is in the Champions detachment. This is a very specific combo, but just the fact that it exists is wild enough, right?
Dude, 3 of them plus Lord Contagion putting down a big knight. Yeah, I was not through -1 damage, not on my bingo card.
No.
There are other ways you can buff them. You can give them Lord of Virulence, which lets them reroll wounds and shooting, which unlocks one of the sneakiest combinations in the game, which is a rapid ingress into an Overwatch. People do not see it coming, and you will just blow a unit away on Overwatch, especially with -1 save. So they run up near one of your units, they receive -1 save, but before they get to charge, surprise, rapid ingress, Overwatch, you're dead.
Yeah, and you can also heroic on top of that too, right? Like, it's just, I mean, that's 3 CP, which is a lot, but this unit's good in melee. The Overwatch value is really great. It's also just fine to run these as 3-mans with 140 points. That's currently how I mostly use them. Just super cheap, super tough Terminators that just drop into annoying places and like exist.
Yeah, they are very good at basically whatever role you want to give them. They hit super hard. They're pretty tanky. They have a lot of utility. They shoot decently into infantry. Nothing really bad to say about them.
Yeah, this is another data sheet that I have genuinely nothing bad to say about it. It's also just very straightforward. Just great Terminators. They run forward. They punch stuff. Shoot good.
They move 5 now.
Good
Before
tough.
It was pretty rough. They moved 4.
Move 5 is really nice because it also unlocks their rapid ingress really well. Honestly, the 4-inch moving at rapid ingress was kind of annoying at times. It's like, man, is this still a 5-inch charge?
It's crazy. I have to rapid ingress at exactly 9 away to make a 5-inch charge. What am I doing here?
Like, that sucks.
Yeah.
Right. But a 4 is significantly easier. Right. So just a good unit. And then I think we can go to the big dog. Number 1.
Number 1, the Canoptic Wraith.
Necrons, the great enemy.
You knew they had to be up here somewhere because we are well-known Necron haters.
Dude, the Canoptic Wraith is just like, it just doesn't die.
These things basically come stapled to a Technomancer. You're not going to take them without a Technomancer. You're not going to take a Technomancer without them. They just, peanut butter and jelly, they go together. The Technomancer gives them a 5 at Feel No Pain, and he heals them for an additional D3 every turn. So these things reanimate, so they'll heal D3, 2D3 if a reanimator is nearby, and you can heal models based off that. So if you have a 3-wound Wraith and you roll like 3 on the reanimator, you'll bring back a Wraith, and then your Technomancer can heal him back to full. That's not frustrating at all as the opponent.
No.
But then they also are toughness 6 with 4 wounds apiece, with a 3-up armor, 4-up invuln, and a 5-up feel no pain, with 6 models, and the ability to heal back to full.
And 2 damage melee.
2 damage melee. You can't just tie them up with nonsense.
It's very easy to constantly disrespect the 2 damage melee, and then it accidentally swings a little too good, and then you just lose a guy you weren't supposed to, and it's like, oh.
They also have weird pistol guns.
They do have weird pistol guns.
Like, you can run a Rhino in, and oops, you took 6 damage off the claws or whatever, and the weird pistol guns go in with buffs and just pick your vehicle up because they're dev wounds, and you're like, uh-oh, now the thing's free and can run around and charge.
Yeah, it's important to note that Canoptic Wraiths can pick up a few key offensive abilities depending on their detachment. There's 2 main ones that they exist in. The current popular one is Star Shatter, which they're going to get +1 to hit if you're on an objective, which is good, right?
Yeah.
Because hitting on 4 sucks. Or the other one is if they're in the Canoptic Court, they can pick up the 4 rerolls to hit if they have the Power Matrix, right?
Awakened Dynasty, they're led by a character, so they get +1 to hit.
As well.
They can also get +1 strength and +1 AP for a strat, so that's very good in Awakened.
Yeah.
Notably, these things are just kind of good in every single detachment. In addition, what Necrons are really good at is sitting back with a bunch of guns and vehicles you're not going to interact with and kill profitably, putting 12 Wraiths on all of the center objectives, and just asking you, what would you like to do about that? Be a shame if I just happen to have OC2 Wraiths all over all the objectives. And you're like, you're right, I got to do something about it. So you take your biggest, meatiest punch and you hit the Canoptic Wraith right in the nose, and you kill like 5.5 of the models. And then the Wraith heals back a model, heals that guy to full with the Technomancer, falls back onto the objective or behind a wall for a second, swaps in the second unit, because they usually have 2. One for the center, and then once you hit it, they swap in the second unit and the other unit backs off. They blow your unit away, they ask you if you can do it again, and by the time another battle round is passed, that unit of Wraiths is back up to like a 3-man, 4-man, ready to go out and conquer objectives all over again. And your big Wraith killing unit, it's dead, and it didn't even kill the Wraiths.
This is the major frustration cycle when you play against Necrons, and why we probably hate them so much, is so I have to commit
this unit
a significant amount of resources into killing something, right? And because of how Canoptic Wraiths work, they have a 4-up invuln and a 5-up feel no pain. There's a natural amount of a lot of variation to this. So I can do all the math, crunch all the numbers, be like, I'm going to kill this 65% of the time or 72% of the time. But the moment I hit the low end of that, I have committed my resource, potentially the only missile I get to activate into this unit to try and get the shot at kill it. And if it fails, they're going to res their whole unit back, and I lose everything.
Yep.
Right? This isn't an equal trade, which is the big frustration with Necrons at the moment. The key to stopping this is attacking the support pieces, right? If you can hit the reanimator, you can hit the backline, you can go for the other stuff. But then you're just losing the primary war at the end of the day.
Yeah, then the Wraiths are just on the center objective or jumping you.
Or just eating stuff, right? Or tying stuff up. This is not an easy thing to do. A lot of armies struggle really heavily in order to do a lot of these.
Realistically, you're not going to have the bandwidth to go after the support pieces, then after the Wraiths. You're just not going to be able to go, I hit your backfield, then I turn around and deal with the Wraiths, and then I deal with Doomsday Arcs and stuff behind it.
Exactly.
Also, everything in the army has a 4-up invuln, which means these things pull out the stuff that wants to go after things that have invulns, and then you kill it, and then your Doomsday Arcs and Silent King and whatnot are just immortal for the rest of the game, which can be a real issue.
Yeah. It would be different if this was an army that was just tough to kill and grinded you out on points, but it just kills you.
Yeah.
Right?
And you bounce off the wall, you just die. You just die.
Yeah. It's like I punch a brick wall and I literally break my hand, and I'm like, oh man, I only have one hand left. And I punch my left hand in, and it's like, oh, I'm out of hands. And then the brick wall punches you in return, right? It just pummels you.
It's so frustrating too, because the unit is designed in a lab to scam people on saves.
Yeah.
Right? Because it has a 3-up armor save. So in cover, low AP, high quantity shots aren't going to do it. Then it has a 4-up invuln, not a 5-up invuln, a 4-up invuln. 4-up invulns are scam city, right? The amount of times I've rolled into a 4-up invuln and they just pass 75% of their saves, that one iteration of the dice, so frustrating. Because if they die when they should die, nobody notices. But the time you hand them like 10 invulns and they pass 7 of them, you want to die.
Yeah.
You want to die. And then they also have 4 wounds with a 5-up feel no pain, which means that on average, 3 2-damage wounds going through or 2 3-damage wounds going through kills a guy. But it's very inefficient to do anything that isn't exactly that, right?
Yeah.
Because a 4-up invuln spikes like las cannons and stuff, they're just not efficient, right? You hand them like 3 las cannon saves, they fail 1, they don't even lose a guy, they heal back to full. Like that doesn't matter. So it's a mass 2 damage, mass 3 damage. But when you do that, what you're begging to have happen is they pass 1 extra feel no pain in that iteration, and suddenly it takes a whole nother 3 damage swing to actually even finish that dude off, and then we get to the rest of the unit. So they just roll a lot of dice. They're very high toughness, and if you don't get the whole unit, they just heal back.
Yeah.
Very frustrating. Can't be chipped down also, which is pretty significant here. It's not just, I left them alive with 1 model, in 2 turns there are going to be 3 models. That's frustrating in and of itself, but I killed half the unit. Sure, I might as well not have done anything, right?
Yeah.
And that's also frustrating. I can't just kill 1 and feel good about myself. He'll just be back.
Yeah, it's different when you play against like other tough units, right? Because you can kill 4 of them or kill 3 of them. And it's like, oh, thank God. Like, this is a much easier problem to deal with. Or it's low OC, or it's not going to hit me back that hard. You can't keep these guys down, dude.
Dude, I fire a Meltagun at a, Death Shroud Terminator. He fails a save. I'm like, sweet, I got some amount of this resource off the board. The Wraith fails a save. You might not even kill it, first off. Like, decent odds you don't. You need to roll a 4-up to kill it on average. And then even there, they can just spike feel no pains and spite you. But then after that, okay, cool, I killed the model. By the time their turn rolls around again, the unit's at full. Like actually just at full. Because even if they roll nothing but 1s on their reanimations, and then the Technomancer heals it, they're still going to be at full, basically. Yeah. And that is really good as a mechanic for a unit that goes out there and absorbs hits.
Me and all my homies hate Necrons.
We do. Seriously. Man, this unit is like emblematic of what makes Necrons annoying to deal with, which is lots of invulns everywhere and severely punishing you if they spike on those invulns. It's like designed for Siegs to scam me.
And it is like a beatable army at the end of the day. Obviously, they lose games. I'm just not having fun doing it.
No.
Right?
No, every time it's like, all right, well, you don't have a unit that like blasts a Wraith Squad into another dimension. That unit just doesn't exist. So you always have a unit that kills it like 70% of the time. And as you said, every time you swing that out there, you're just like, please, just fail an average amount of saves, please, just for me, just this once, please fail. Oh my God, he passed like 70% of the 4-ups again. Because all that matters is he did it this one time. Not whether he does it consistently, just this once.
Jack is a broken man.
They're so frustrating, man.
These Wraiths are getting them, dude.
Dude, Wraiths and Catans and Doomsday Arcs have too many wounds, and they have a feel no pain, and they all have a 4-up invuln. It's not even getting to the Silent King, who will be on a top 10 list coming soon to theaters near you.
Necrons. I think that sums up this tier list. Just Necrons. Well, I hope you guys did enjoy this tier list. Excuse our final tirade about our hatred of Necrons, of course.
Boo.
But like I said before, please feel free to give us your own list down below in the comments. We really do read them and check them out. Feel free to message either me or Jack in the Discord. Add us in the appropriate channels. We'll answer any of your questions you have. Like, comment, subscribe, check out the War Room, check out the 3 free day trial, and we'll go from there. Thank you guys.
No, you did it again.
What did I do?
You said the 3 free day trial.
3 free day trial. Oh. Check out the War Room. We have the free 3-day trial in the link below. And wait, did I do it again?
In the link below. Check out the free 3-day trial down in the link below at thewarroom.vhx.tv if you want to check out the War Room and see all the videos we've been talking about. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Me and all my homies hate Necrons.
We do. Seriously.